early on during the Tunisian Revolution, I focused a lot on using the hashtag of the revolution, Sidi Bouzid, to find new sources. And that worked fairly well because the media wasn't using the hashtag as well. It was only when the Egyptian revolution really got into high gear that the media started using the Egyptian hashtag, which was Jan25 for January 25th. And once any news organization starts using a hashtag actively, it starts becoming less and less useful, simply because more people see it, it gets watered down, it gets spammed. Hashtags are valuable as long as they're somewhat under the radar. And so very early on during the Egyptian revolution, I started putting together Twitter lists for that revolution and then for every subsequent revolution and uprising. And my preference is to start by just asking myself, who do I already know in these countries? And as it happened, I knew a handful of bloggers and activists in both Tunisia and Egypt, so they were my first sources, and they were all actively involved in each of their respective revolutions. And at that point, it was a matter of me paying attention to who they were tweeting with, who they were out-replying the most. Were they formal or informal in the way they talked? Did they use emoticons while talking with each other as in a sense of informality or even intimacy? Who did they retweet the most? Who were they following? Who was following them? And so as the revolution progressed, I went from having maybe 2 or 3 sources to 40, 50, 60 sources that proved to be very reliable. But it's changed a lot since then, and because it varies from revolution to revolution. I didn't know a single person in Libya, for example, before the revolution started, so I didn't have a point of reference there. So what I did is I started asking around the Libyan expat community here in the US about who they knew was online and who they followed either in the blogosphere or on Twitter. And from there I got a handful of names. And most of the people who were doing this in Libya were doing it under pseudonyms. To this day, I don't know all of their genders, for example. But people working under pseudonyms, I've never had a problem with that as long as their output has been constructive and useful. So a lot of the first things that were coming out of Libya were videos. So people were skeptical that a revolution was starting, but once videos started surfacing showing people knocking over statues of Gaddafi and breaking large versions of the Green Book and tearing down signs, and I would ask my followers on Twitter, can you translate these videos for me since I don't speak Arabic? And I would have Tunisians and Egyptians alike tell me, yeah, that's definitely a Libyan accent. I think it's Benghazi, and I recognize that location along the Corniche. And so my retweeting evolved to a point where my Twitter followers got actively involved as translators and researchers. So in some ways, if you think of what I've been doing as a form of real-time anchor coverage, rather than having a news team allowing me to do that work, I have my Twitter community helping me do that work. I will retweet people that already have a proven track record of being accurate. If they say anything that seems suspicious to me, I'll retweet it with a word like confirm, ? Or source ? And then for everyone else, I'll be somewhat skeptical about it. And again, I might retweet them, but I'll annotate it asking for more information about it. And so there's a decent amount of information that I tweet that I have absolutely no proof is true, but I don't claim it's true either. I say that there are reports that this is happening. Does anyone have more information on this? And my Twitter followers, because I've really tried to cultivate a group of people who have experience in that part of the world, they help me figure it out. In many cases, like in the case of Libya and Tunisia, Syria, and Egypt, it's not a matter of just getting a tweet from one person and trying to verify it. So like in Tahrir Square, I would be seeing tweets from 50 people all at once, describing similar things and taking individual photos or videos from different angles. So while one tweet might not be perfectly accurate, in the aggregate you can tell that something important is or isn't going on. In other cases like Syria or Libya, where you don't always have direct access to being in country when you need to be there, you have to rely on the quality of the videos that people are sending. And so even though my sources in Libya, even to this day, many of them I don't know their real names or their genders, if the stuff they send me seems accurate and makes sense and is consistent over time, then you can generally assume that there is truth to it. You may not know the context, like it's often hard to tell when something or where something was filmed, but if you see images from people in Green Square, or now known as Martyr Square in Tripoli, tearing down statues of Gaddafi, you can be pretty damn sure that that scene hasn't been faked. It's not fake footage. In the 9-10 months that I've been doing this, I think I've seen maybe 1 or 2 fake videos. That's it. And that's having seen thousands of videos. It's much more common to see content that is in the wrong context. So someone saying this is a horrible video of a child who's been shot in the head, whereas in reality, it was crime scene footage of some poor child that was hit by a car and run over several years before that. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen sometimes. And so more common is people will say, here's a video of something that happened today in Tripoli. And then after it circulates for a few minutes, someone will say, oh, no, I saw that video in Yemen 3 months ago. Here's the original link. So the act of circulating information, even if you're not totally sure it's true, it's often self-correcting if you've got the right people following you on Twitter, because with their collective knowledge, they will recognize and know about almost everything. And so I rarely ever say that something is confirmed, but I will send out lots of information in the hopes of people helping me figure out what's true and what's not. Before visiting Cairo this late June, early July for just a handful of days, I hadn't been in the Middle East in over 5 years. So I've been doing all of this from my office, from my home, from the rooftop here at NPR, any place where I can sit comfortably with my iPhone. I remember at one point I was at a conference in Palm Springs, California, and the conference just ended, so I decided to just chill out by the pool for a couple of hours. And I got a tweet from some woman saying, I just wanted to let you know my entire church and I are praying for you and your safety in Libya. And I said, well, that's very kind of you to say that, but the only thing I have to worry about in this particular desert is getting a sunburn. So I think people get the impression just because I try to provide very vivid, real-time reports, and for people who are new to following me, I guess that sometimes they assume I'm actually there, but I also try to go out of my way to remind people where I actually am, so people don't assume I'm like hiding in a bunker in Misrata or Benghazi trying to report on what was going on around me. You know, I see my professional life online as integral to my personal life online. I don't regard it as a place that I go to work. It's a part of my life, and a lot of the people I work with happen to be online. So it's never really seemed to me that I was having to switch on and act like I'm at work simply because I'm tweeting something. And so if you follow my Twitter account and you pay attention to it, you'll see me complaining about bad customer service at restaurants, or my flight being late, or one of my kids throwing up on me, or whatever, and a cat jumping on my keyboard and sending out a tweet before I can stop them from doing it. You know, so it's the last thing I want people to think is that I'm some form of bot that automatically sends out these tweets. And so I think it's important to have a personal relationship with people on your Twitter account, and listen to people and interact with people. Regarding how I do this offline, my wife is a former producer at National Geographic, so she gets this whole idea of being, on a story for a very long time at a very intense level. But at the same time, I'm careful about balancing my home life and work life. So I try to get on Twitter when I'm up in the morning and when I'm on my commute in both directions, and when I'm at work, of course. But once I get home, if my kids are there and they want to play, I'm going to play with them. Whether they want to read a book, or they want to go outside, or they want to play with the iPad, whatever, it's their call, and I follow their lead. I'm the one in charge of cooking dinner, giving the kids a bath, reading to them, helping getting them to bed. And it's really only once my family has gone, everyone in the house has gone asleep, including the dog and the cats, that I tend to get back online around maybe 10:30, 11 o'clock, and I might tweet for another hour or so if there's anything really important going on. And the only exceptions to this rule, if there's something major happening, like when Tripoli was being liberated, it was clearly an important moment, so during those times, my wife would go and keep my kids busy, take them to the park or whatever, so I could concentrate a bit, because I don't like having to tell my kids, no, I can't read you a book right now because Daddy's too busy tweeting. And so, but there are ways of doing it subtly, like, I can be making my daughter's oatmeal and stirring it on the counter and have my iPhone in my hand looking at a Twitter list, and then put it down while I talk to her and eat breakfast, and then pick it up after that while she's getting dressed. So you have moments where you can capture things and catch up, but then there are plenty of times where you just want to shut off. And so So I do that.